Welcome to Elevated and Melanated, where critical thinkers should come and discuss inconvenient truths and uncomfortable knowledge. I am your host, KT the Intellect.
It's your boy DJ the Finesse Kid.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We want to thank you again for joining us. You know what I'm saying? It's been a thankful, you know what I'm saying, couple weeks, you know what I'm saying, just doing side missions, keeping things going for the business. You feel me? How you doing, DJ?
I am blessed, doing my best like always, and just keeping to doing that. And I've been, I found myself in some grateful positions.
Okay. Yeah, is there?
I'm
Yes,
very
sir.
grateful, I should say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We want to keep, you know what I'm saying?
Advantageous.
Advantageous.
Advantageous positions.
Positions.
And I'm grateful for those advantageous positions.
Gotta be. And you know, just a couple of days ago, they had what is called a Thanksgiving, or what other people call it Indigenous Peoples Day, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So some people are celebrating massacre and murder, and other people are trying to remember what was lost and what can be brought back, right?
So many forms of genocide.
Yeah, exactly. But today, we want to talk about the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, because a lot of people, especially in the Western Hemisphere, after being so heavily colonized, they're not aware of what rights they really have as an Indigenous person. You know, so that's why the United Nations put out this declaration to inform people on, you know what I'm saying, the rights of an Indigenous person, and who are the Indigenous people is going to get into all that, right?
Before we get into it, who do you think it should be in charge of, like, letting the Indigenous people know about what their rights are?
Right. So I mean, of course, self-determination is going to be the primary factor and mover. So it's going to be the Indigenous people that know, right? So really, this declaration is really geared towards the Black and Latino people of the Western Hemisphere, as well as the Native American people who may be native to Siberia, but we're here before Europeans were here. So this is all geared towards, like I said, the Black, Native, and Latino people of the Western Hemisphere, because a lot of them, especially outside of the people who claim to be Native, they may not know they have Indigenous heritage, Aboriginal heritage, right?
Right.
And that's why this is here to clear up some of the misconceptions, right? And also to let people know what advantages or what advantages of a position it can put you in when you claim your Indigenous heritage, right? When you get that Aboriginal status on the land.
Your real heritage.
Exactly, because
a lot of people are looking through a muddied lens or a dirty lens, and think that their history is one thing, but it's either completely left where they don't know anything, or they didn't go far enough digging.
Exactly. You're not looking back, you know what I'm saying? Because some of us may have been taught to be ashamed of our past, and that may get you to not look at the past with such a what's the word I'm looking for?
Wide lens.
A sharp lens, a focused lens, you know what I'm saying, to really see the minutia there, the gray, because
how it matters, right?
Yeah, exactly, because they want us to see everything is black and white, but there's a lot of gray there. And if we can understand the minutia of things, the gray area, you know what I'm saying, that's where the real epiphanies and things of that nature can come out. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, yes sir, let's get into United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, right? So this was adopted by the United Nations on September 13th, 2007, right? So this was over 14 years ago, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't hear nothing about this when this came out. Did you hear anything about this, DJ?
Not even. I was probably somewhere eating corn dogs and chicken tenders.
Right, exactly. We've been there, you feel me? So, so like this has not been spread as wide and as far as it should have been. Most people who it would really affect and whose lives it would really change are the people who haven't heard about it, right? Yeah. So that's what we're elevating the Melanated is here for, just to bring the rights to the people, the knowledge to the people, and let them know that there's a different way to do things, you feel me?
And what's crazy is right around 2007 is right when, like, the internet really started popping off. Like, it was just like, okay, it's like the it thing to do for some people, obviously, or like the beginning stages, right? Because that's when we had like MySpace.
We
were focused on, and cell phones really started becoming a thing, because then we were focused on texting girls. You know what I'm saying? Our generation was really started to get over sexualized, so maybe that's why.
Oh yeah, a lot of distractions.
Distractions.
A lot of distractions out here nowadays. Well, not just the internet. All forms of media really have been overly saturated in the American culture, so that the important things that we should be focusing on kind of fall by the wayside.
And it's looked at as not cool, or not the right thing to do.
Exactly, exactly. But we don't get into it because there's a lot of advantages that comes with claiming your indigenous aboriginal status, and we're gonna get into that. But first, we're gonna get into the annex, right? So this is like what the United Nations has to say. So this United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, they're addressing the General Assembly. So guided by the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations and good faith in the fulfillment of the obligations assumed by states in accordance with the Charter, affirming that indigenous peoples are equal to all other peoples, while recognizing the right of all peoples to be different, to consider themselves different, and to be respected as such. Now, that's very important there, you know what I'm saying? Because uh, we live in a very, not just a colonized world, but a world that wants you to conform, that wants you to fit in, right, to a certain narrative. So to move on, right, affirming also that all peoples contribute to the diversity and richness of civilizations and cultures, which constitute the common heritage of humankind. Affirming further that all doctrines, policies, and practices based or advocating superiority of peoples or individuals on the basis of national origin, racial, religious, ethnic, or cultural differences are racist, scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust, right? So, nothing nothing we don't already know.
Yep.
You feel me? But they do have to put it in paper, put it in writing. So reaffirming that indigenous peoples in the exercise of their rights should be free from discrimination of any kind. Concerned that indigenous peoples have suffered from historic injustices as the result of their colonization and dispossession of their lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing them from exercising, in particular, the right to develop in accordance with their own needs and interests. That's a very important one. We're going to touch back on that one because the dispossession of people's lands. That's really where the crux of the poverty and the ghetto that we see, the crux of the ignorance and stuff that we see, the lack of wealth. That's really coming from the dispossession of ancestral lands.
Yeah.
'Cause, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I'm gonna say because all wealth starts with land. The basis of all wealth is land.
Yeah, and it just seems like a lot of people in our culture are in the ghettos. They're again even still focusing on not the right thing, which not that might not be common knowledge that the basis of wealth is land. A lot of people think renting or other things or actual having your name on it. And
Just having a lease or something like, increases the value. Yeah, so it's very interesting to be paying rent on land that is with ownership is very questionable at best. You know what I'm saying? But it's controlled by corporations and banks, but not the actual people who were the indigenous people of the land. So that's really
and
the
not knowing that indigenous people actually have the rights to it.
Exactly. It's all about understanding your heritage, what was personally taken from you, whether it be unlawful, whether it be through conquest, threat of violence, things of that nature. If those things have happened in your family's past, you could come back and you can get that land. You know what I'm saying?
This is all because of treaties and right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because even before this, there were treaties with the United States, and they weren't supposed to do certain things. But of course, things got reneged, and so
they went against the
yeah, exactly. But we went against our own practices too, not keeping them accountable. You know what I'm saying? Forgetting our heritage, forgetting who we are, forgetting our rights. Because if you don't know your rights, you cannot enforce your rights. You know what I'm saying? So recognizing the urgent need to respect and promote the inherent rights of indigenous peoples who derive from their political, economic, and social structures and from their cultures, spiritual traditions, histories, and philosophies, especially their rights to their land, territories, and resources. Recognizing also the urgent need to respect and promote the rights of indigenous peoples affirmed in treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements with states. Now they say with states, they don't just mean the United States, right? This applies to the world, and really they are focusing on the Western Hemisphere. So we're talking about Mexico, Brazil, all of Central America, the Caribbean.
Dominican, all the
Exactly. So welcoming the fact that indigenous peoples are organizing themselves for political, economic, social, and cultural enhancement in order to bring an end to all forms of discrimination and oppression wherever they occur. Convinced that control by indigenous peoples over developments affecting them and their lands, territories, and resources will enable them to maintain and strengthen their institutions, cultures, and traditions, and to promote their development in accordance with their aspirations and needs. Recognizing that respect for indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practices contributes to sustainable and equitable development and other management of the environment. So yeah, so this, you know what I'm saying, emphasizing all this, why they're doing what they're doing, right? And what was taken from the indigenous people of the land through colonization. So emphasizing the contribution of demilitarization of the lands and territories of indigenous peoples to peace, economic and social progress and development, understanding and friendly relations, understanding to keep a friendly relations among nations and people of the world, right? So recognizing in particular the right of indigenous families and communities to retain shared responsibility for the upbringing, training, education, and well-being of their children, consistent with the rights of the child. Now, that's a big one too. There's a lot of people. What was going on with this jabby jab, right? They're trying to get in some of these states like New York, California, and trying to get the kids to be able to consent.
Like 12 years old, right?
Yeah, like 12, 11 years old, to be able to get the jab without their parents' permission or their parents' consent. So it's just the children. So people do have to understand that you don't have to send your kid to this public school, right? As we know, most of these public schools are nothing but warehousing for these children.
Yep.
They're not there to really teach them how to be sustainable or be productive people. They're really there to just warehouse them until they can usher them into a corporate structure where they can use them as corporate slaves or
Keep them
usher
there
them
for 8
into
hours a
an
day.
prison. Yeah,
Have them doing meaningless homework,
meaning.
teaching them stuff that don't have nothing to do with, like you said, their heritage and what they need to be doing.
Exactly.
We need to be doing, yeah.
Exactly, but like I said, if you are identifying as an indigenous person, you have your indigenous status, they cannot force you to do anything. They do not own your children. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much they claim to own your children through the social security number.
Yeah.
But they don't own your kids, right? And that's what this is just letting you know. Because if you don't know that, you'll let the state act like it own your kids and act like they can tell you what to do with your child. Because that's what a lot of people are allowing this corporation to tell them what to do. So, considering that the rights affirmed in treaties, agreements, and other constructive arrangements between states and indigenous peoples are, in some situations, matters of international concern, interest, responsibility, and character. Character. Yeah, so they're trying to cover their tracks. So, a lot of this stuff, too, while they're writing this in the 21st century, after 100 years of this, is they're trying to recollect with their past. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things trying to go on where they're trying to not feel so bad, or they know they did wrong, or they did bad business, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to what's
Their
the word?
karma?
Yeah, not just karma, but public relations. It's almost like a public relations, like a PR move. You know what I'm
Gotcha,
saying? So acknowledging that the Charter of the United Nations, the International Covenant on Economics, Social and Cultural Rights, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the Vienna Declaration and Program of Action, affirm the fundamental importance of right of self-determinations of all people, by virtue of which they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. All very important things, right? So, bearing in mind that nothing in this declaration may be used to deny any peoples their right to self-determination, exercised in conformity with international law, right? So, long as you're not doing any harm, you have the right to self-determination. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people really got to understand these type of things, because as we go further and further into this experiment into the new world order that they call this pandemic or whatever, they're going to try and take more and more power away from the people.
Yeah.
And if the people don't understand their rights, don't understand the power that they do have vested in them, then they'll lose that power, and thus they'll lose their free will.
And it's like also slowly disarming, this disarming the people as far as, like we say, pen before sword,
Exactly.
And so I feel like this is one of those ways that not only are disarming the sword, but, blurring, like putting a blindfold over people, and so
Exactly.
they can't even write, with the pen.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Making people fearful.
yeah.
And when you're in a state of fear, you're not making usually the most logical decision. You're
Mm-hmm.
making a
Emotional too. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Get you emotional, get you fearful.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not thinking correctly. You're not thinking long term.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You're thinking in the now. So, convinced that the recognition of the rights of indigenous peoples in its declaration will enhance harmonious and cooperative relations between the state and indigenous peoples based on principles of justice, democracy, respect for human rights, non discrimination, and good faith. Encouraging states to comply with and effectively implement all their obligations as they apply to indigenous peoples under international instruments, in particular those related to human rights, in consultation and cooperation with the peoples concerned, emphasizing that the United Nations has an important and continuing role to play in promoting and protecting the rights of indigenous peoples. All right, yeah. I mean, the UN better do something.
Yeah. Shit.
Because they playing really, but really a lot of this comes with self responsibility too. They've put on paper what the rights of indigenous peoples are. They put on paper what you can do, what you cannot do. We're gonna go through all of this. But if this is on paper and it's and Barack Obama signed this as the president, so the United States is the federal government is a part of this and affirming these rights that indigenous people have. If they put this on paper and they made it public, if you don't act on these rights, it's not their fault.
Yeah, it's on you.
Yeah, it's on the indigenous people who are not taking an active role in governing themselves, an active role in a you know what I'm saying, being self sufficient and trying their hardest to keep their free will, to keep their freedom, because that's where freedom comes from, your free will. If you have no land, if you have no food, if you have no currency, then you're beholden to the people who do have land, who do have food, who do have currency. Thus, you have no autonomy, so you have no self-determination. Your determination, your destiny is determined by people who have resources.
Yeah.
And so,
And throughout time, that's not always the best. Doesn't always work out for everyone.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, to move on. Believing that this declaration is a further important step forward for the recognition, promotion, and protection of the rights and freedoms of indigenous peoples and the development of relevant activities of the United Nations system in this field. Recognizing and affirming that indigenous individuals are entitled without discrimination to all human rights recognized in international law, and that indigenous peoples possess collective rights which are indispensable for their existence, well-being, and integral development as peoples. Recognizing that the situation of indigenous peoples varies from region to region and from country to country, and that the significance of national and regional particularities, I missed that word, I butchered it, we're going to move on, and various historical and cultural backgrounds should be taken into consideration. That's very important too. So like you said, like indigenous peoples vary region to region. And region to region doesn't just mean continent to continent. You know what I'm saying? They want, in these movies, they want us to think that there's only one phenotype in the Western Hemisphere when Europeans got here, and that is the classical Native American phenotype, which is really native to Siberia, which is really Mongolian. So they want us to think that that's the only phenotype that was in the Western Hemisphere, when that's not true. There is multiple phenotypes, including what we call Black or Aboriginal, and not just what we would call Native American. So that's very important too, to understand that there are various indigenous peoples on this landmass before it was taken over, not just one group of people. Very important, because you seen Pocahontas, right?
Oh yeah.
When you were watching Pocahontas, did you ever think about, Pocahontas was an Aboriginal woman that probably looked like somebody in my family? Did you ever think that watching that movie?
Not watching that
Because
movie.
they changed the phenotypes of things. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, almost like the story with Jesus, same thing. Like
It's very similar. You know what I'm saying? A way to romanticize a history. You know what I'm saying? So for something to be romanticized, that means it was written in a way that supports Roman history or Roman control or Roman, you know what I'm saying, conquest.
Influence, yeah.
Exactly. So it's not going to be the truth. Like I said, like the truth was written by the victors, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you were conquered, if you were never able to tell your story, you only get in one half of it.
Now, did they? defeat us, I guess, or conquer the lands.
The land, for, I mean,
But due to like implosion, due to like lack of something, or is it just like as they came over time, they just became more and more people? Or
as I'm saying, and this is where it gets very nuanced. It's a combination of all of those things. It's a combination of some people, some indigenous people being very enthralled with a new way of life. You know what I'm saying? Some people being very colonized religiously, spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Converting to it, and these people really believe in these beliefs, so they're converting to a new system, not understanding their role in the larger scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? So,
does
and yeah, there
history
was
tell
wars.
why?
Huh?
Does history tell why our ancestors and some of our ancestors did
Flip
what they?
sides,
Yeah, I mean,
or
obviously you never know why a human
well, this is
being
all
does.
business, and that's why I want to get into this too. Like the first colonies, like the Virginia, like it was called the Virginia Company. All this is about business. It's all about trade. Like you know what I'm saying. So some people wanted to do business and open up to the newcomers, and some people didn't. And this led to infighting within Aboriginals and Indian
Like,
tribes
hey man, don't
themselves.
let them in. You know what I'm saying? Don't trust them. And
Yeah,
then it's like, hey man, obviously you're speaking different.
yeah, yeah.
Hey man.
Yeah, no, real talk though. You know what I'm saying? So there's a split among the Aboriginals on the land. You know what I'm saying? But this all comes down to business. Like you said, the United States is a corporation. Is here to do business. People were allowed to be on the land because they're allowed to be on the land to do business. You know what I'm saying? So this it's not
That's
entirely
because
a
of the
bad
republic we
thing.
built.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, it's not doing business is not entirely a bad thing. It's when you're being taken advantage of, when it's dirty business practices. You know what I'm saying? When you set up a system that's able to commit land grabs, where you take huge swath of land from one group of people, and you give it to an invading group of people, or a migrating group of people. You know what I'm saying? So that's I think what the real crux of it was, and about why the Aboriginals lost their land. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like in disease, that was a huge thing as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Disease was going rampant, but it wasn't as big as they trying to make it out to be in
Yeah.
North America,
It
really.
was just a bunch of, like you said, a bunch of those things
Yeah, all
throughout time.
it's a whole bunch of it's a big
It's like a
combination.
perfect storm for them.
Yeah, and you have people from both like America's being invaded by both sides of the water. You know what I'm saying? People are coming from Asia, people are coming from Europe, all coming to America. And way more people are coming to America than are going to Europe than are going to Asia. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Because we
is
have
it-
like the richest land, or
I mean, you could argue that. You could argue this is the land of milk and honey. You know what I'm saying? But you can also argue that other parts of the world are just as abundant. You know what I'm saying? And that there are systems in place that are really there to keep the people down. And so I think that's more what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because the earth has plenty of resources for the people on it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's really about what system are the people in. Does it allow for people to have free will, for people to progress, for people to own their own businesses, for people to own their own land? Because in Europe, if you're a peasant or serf, you're never going to own land. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're own like a duke's land or a lord's land. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's where the term landlord comes from. You know what I'm saying? So like, you're on somebody else's land, but it's sharecropping. You're a farmer. You're a planter for whoever owns that land.
Yeah.
And they take up the majority of of whatever you produce, and you get just enough to feed your family or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Do they have a choice to try to? Because I know America is like the land of the land of opportunity. Is it the same type of opportunities they have
No.
over there?
Well, America being the land of opportunity, that's really a tagline to increase migration to America. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because America, like being a land of art, like who are you telling that to? You're telling that to somebody who hasn't been here, that you're trying to encourage to come here. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're European, it's in your best interest that more Europeans come here, because the more Europeans here, then the more land they can put into a European's name. And then basically the more influence and the more power they have here. You know what I'm saying? So like on the Statue of Liberty, it says like, give me your huddled masses, all this stuff. Like, give me your poor huddled masses. You feel me? Like, America, those same Caucasian, a lot of the same descendants of those Caucasians wouldn't want poor people from other parts of the world coming here. But 100 years ago, in the early 1900s, they were encouraged to come here, even though they were coming from third world, you know what I'm saying, situations, just like people from Mexico or Honduras are coming from. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think it's that land of opportunity tag or people, America being a land of milk and honey, all that stuff, that was like pushed to other populations to get them to migrate here to increase the hold that other nationalities have in America.
So it's kind of watered down.
Yeah, no, to water down the indigenous people's population or like percentage of population. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And for land reasons, because like look at the Homestead Act, right? They gave away like 40 million acres of land. You know what I'm saying, during the mid 1800s to the early 1900s, where like all you had to do was be Caucasian and go out there and stake your, you know what I'm saying, stake your land and claim it. You know what I'm saying? And that was backed by the federal government, but they're giving away indigenous land.
Yeah.
But if you have a federal government who has a big army backing you, then you're able to do things like that. But you still need numbers
Yeah.
for something like that to happen. So you have to encourage European migration to America so that those people can go out there and conquer the frontier. You know what I'm saying? To make way for the elite. You know what I'm saying? Because the elite ain't about to be on the front line.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fighting Indians and all
hide.
doing all, you know what I'm saying? They're going to send out they peasants or like the people who are in
They're
desperate
pawns,
enough
basically.
situations.
They're pawns, basically.
Exactly. Because they're just looking for a better life too. I don't fault them for, you know what I'm saying? Like, because they're coming from a situation where they own nothing and they're hearing of America. Oh, they have a republic where the people are in charge. Like, they don't have a king breathing down their necks that can cut off their head, whatever they want with no impunity.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like a better deal to me. You know?
But they had the opportunity to just get up and leave, or how does that
I mean,
work out?
some did. I mean, it depends on what period, because it was a period of 400 years. So it depends on what period of time you're immigrating to America. But I mean, there are people that are paying you to come, like, you know what I'm saying? So like a lot of indentured servants, the people who had a contract on their head paid for their voyage. It's like, okay, it's like, you want to come to America? It's like, okay, I'll pay for you to get here, but you're going to work for me for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, I'm going to give you a few acres. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting paid out, but it's a situation where like you're going to be somebody's employee.
You're helping me grow my empire, my nation. But in the meantime, I'll give you something small.
Exactly. So some people could get up, and some people came over here unforced. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not every European that was coming from Europe came voluntarily. There were kids that were being kidnapped off the streets of Birmingham, London, and all this, who were being put on ships and taken over there with bonds on their heads, and somebody was paying for them. They don't even know who's paying for them.
And these were like Aboriginal kids.
No, these are I know there were Moors that were expelled from Europe. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that did happen too. But mostly these were the incoming Europeans from like Britain, Ireland, Scotland. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody came voluntarily.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just, like I said, there's so much nuance to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not just black and white. It's literally there's so much gray area to it that
Exactly.
you know. There's definitely not something we learned in history class. I'll tell you that.
No.
Writing books.
Yeah, and there's a reason why you don't hear about none of the Indian wars east of the Mississippi. Like, only wars you hear about, you know what I'm saying, like, are the Plains Indian wars and like west of Texas. You know what I'm saying? Because all the wars that were happening east of Texas were with Aboriginal people who are black or Negro people. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's what we were.
Exactly. So they're not going to tell you about those wars, because then they will have to show you those paintings. They will have to show you those pictures. You know what I'm saying? Where you have so-called black people dressed up as Aboriginal people. You know what I'm saying? Now, it'll keep your mind running like, hold on, why they look like me? Like, we've been here this long. I mean, I heard I had Indian in my family, because most black people hear that and they dismiss it. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw Pocahontas. You know what I'm saying?
Or they just don't know like today they don't know the value in it.
Yes,
They really don't know the value in actually going that far back.
Exactly. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah, that's a very good point. People don't understand the value of reclaiming their status, reclaiming their nationality. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's not too late. Right?
Yeah. Oh, it's not too late. You know what I'm saying? But we may be walking into some.
Yeah, I mean, shit. The time is ticking.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. Don't get us wrong. The time is ticking.
So you want to do this? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look into your family, get your genealogy right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get the link in our bio. Hit us up for consultations. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start doing private status consultations for people who are looking to reclaim their nationality and their indigenous status. But yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? We're living in very turbulent times, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live in a very complex system where it's all interconnected. Yeah. And if one of these little complex parts falls or something, it's going to affect the rest of the system. And we could be looking at a supply chain shortage, you know what I'm saying, a food shortage, a gas shortage. Any one of these things could severely impact your standard of living. You know what I mean?
Yep. And then not only that, then you're gonna have to not just deal with what the world is lacking, but you're gonna also have to deal with people that are scared and wanting to, fight somebody, but they don't know who to fight. So they're gonna start turning against their own and, creating chaos inside of inside of the matrix, controlled chaos.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. They'll keep that in the city. That's what
yeah,
they're gonna. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
Keep that all in the city, and then while the people are out in nature with the farms, and
Yeah,
or I say
well,
the people, the elites. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. And the regular folks in the
Yeah,
world,
regular
you know what I'm saying, out
that
there
have that are
too.
prepared.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because people think, oh, I'm in New York, I'm paying $5,000 a month for rent. I'm in San Francisco, I'm paying $5,000 a month for rent. But you may be living a life where like you go 2 blocks over, you might get robbed or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like it may be a dude out here who owns his land or he pays like 1,000 a month, but he got 20 acres. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And, you know
Well,
what I'm
not
saying? So
only
he
that,
can,
if the world shuts down, or like we were just watching South Park.
oh,
What
like a
they
COVID
they
trailer,
shut it
post-COVID.
down, and it's like, bro, you're all in the city. All these most major big cities have ways that they can keep the population
Well,
broken
yeah.
down or inside.
Yeah,
And
and
so
that's what a lot of these freeways are about. That's why in most major cities the freeways are in a ring or a loop. You know what I'm saying? Because they can shut down that loop and keep the majority of that metro population
that's why
in the
ours is
city
a big
center.
ass loop.
Yeah, well, it's not just most like every
Well,
major
I just thought
American
about that
city.
right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy in this
yeah.
moment because it's like I've known that about Pittsburgh just because of that movie with Russell Crowe, The Next 3 Days.
Yeah.
And, they shut down the city, obviously, like New York, Chicago.
Right. Yeah.
They did that in
Every major
Batman.
city's like that. You know what I'm
Yeah, but
saying?
now like we're all really all
Yeah, and
connected.
all the freeways when they were being built, they were being built with the military in mind because Eisenhower, who commissioned the freeways, they built it off the Autobahn in Germany.
Germany,
And
yeah.
that was built to transport tanks, to transport, you know what I'm saying, resources as fast as possible. So all of these freeways are really built to be able to take on military traffic. You know what I'm saying? Like we use them as civilians, but there were the specs to them. You know what I'm saying? They were able to take Humvees and
That's why it's like
tanks and all that.
5 lanes wide.
And yeah, exactly. That's the fastest way to maneuver through the city if you have an extremely large vehicle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. So to keep going, it says, recognizing that the situation of indigenous peoples, okay, that's the one I just read. So solemnly proclaims the following United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as a standard of achievement to be pursued in the spirit of partnership and mutual respect. So now I'm going to get into articles. Fine, that was all intro. So Article 1, right? Indigenous peoples have the right to the full enjoyment as a collective or as individuals of all human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and international human rights law. So I want to get into that human rights, right? So human rights is being human is a very specific thing. Humans come with nationalities, right? You know what I'm saying? And if they're able to take your nationality away and get you to identify as a label or a brand that is not connected to any landmass, then they can get you outside of human rights law. So if you're identifying as black, you know what I'm saying, or as African American, which is really identifying as two continents, one where you have absolutely no citizenship or legal ties
African,
to.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're identifying as black or you know what I'm saying, even Latino, you know what I'm saying, these are
Or Mexican,
titles.
same
Yeah, I mean Mexican has a national. There is a state named Mexico. You know what I'm saying, but I mean we can get into where that word Mexico comes from. But being a U.S. citizen, because you could be America has nothing to do with United States corporation, other than the fact the United States is operating on the land mass of America. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, this is very important because if it can get you to identify as something other than a nationality, that can get you outside the family and nations, and thus you don't have to get human rights. So this is why identifying as an indigenous American national or Aboriginal or anything that's tied to a landmass where you actually live, you know what I'm saying, is very important because if you don't do that, then they get you outside of these rights and they can do whatever they want to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the basis of why a lot of things aren't held accountable in America. A lot of like what we think as genocidal acts or things of that nature.
Yeah.
Because they're not
Being killed in the street.
Yeah, they're not really doing it to lawful humans. They're doing it to legal humans, and that's a legal system, not the lawful. It's two different things. So
And at the end of the day, semantics do matter. Like
it's in law. You know what I'm saying?
In law, it does
100%.
matter, yeah.
And law, semantics. They have they have conferences on semantics every year
Yeah.
in England. You know what I'm saying? So that these lawyers and the bar, the British accreditation registry, so the lawyers in that club, that little membership club, they can understand what's the best words to get over on the people. What words do we want to change or finagle or use that are outside the
Non-binary.
mainstream lexicon? Exactly. You know
That's
what I'm
just
saying?
funny. That's just a funny term to me.
Right? Because to be non-binary, you have to be in a binary. It doesn't matter. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
man.
saying? So Article 2, right? The indigenous peoples and individuals are free and equal to all other peoples and individuals and have the right to be free of any kind of discrimination and the exercise of their rights, in particular that based on their indigenous origin or identity. Super important. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can tell you who you are. Nobody can tell you your origins, no matter how many classes you sat through in public school where they try to force feed you an ancestry. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can tell you that. Who you should be listening to is your elders and your family, your great grandmothers, your great aunties, your great uncles. You know what I'm saying? Where did they say they're from?
Yeah.
Who do they say their ancestors are? You know what I'm saying? Because as long as I've been alive, 8 to 9 out of 10 black people I meet, they've had Indian in their family, and more than half of them know what specific tribe they came from, whether it be Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, you know what I'm saying, like Chickasaw, all these different tribes that existed in North America prior to colonization. You heard those tribes, but why we didn't hear no African tribes coming up? You know what I'm saying? Like any of the tribes from Nigeria, you know what I'm saying? Igbo, any of these tribes, Shanti. Why didn't we hear those tribes coming up? You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's because we weren't as closely related to people in Western Africa as we are been force fed to believe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe those tribal names, those American tribal names that you heard from your great grandma, from your elders in your family, maybe those are your true identities. And maybe you shouldn't overlook that oral tradition. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what that is. Your
Yeah.
grandma say you're Cherokee. That's an oral tradition that is not to be taken lightly. It's not to be overlooked. You know what I'm saying? Because at school they said we all came from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you supposed to believe? This public school system that is set up there to indoctrinate you and to get you to be an adult that's controllable and malleable? Or your grandma who probably has the best interest out of anybody on the planet for you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, for real. Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you could skip ahead to Article 13 because that one actually is right. And that's the article that was kind of on my mind out of all of these articles because
Right.
it makes sense and it's really dope that they obviously to kind of sum it up, dope. It doesn't really do a great enough container for it, but
Right.
it's really cool that we have the. I mean, once you read it, we'll be able to explain it. But
exactly. Yeah, and I'll skip down to it. I'm gonna leave a link in the bio so people can read this for themselves and can click on it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lengthy document. We may not go through every article, but it's very important. You know what I'm saying, to the people who really want to take their life into their own hands, take their rights into their own hands, understand what you can do and what your rights are. So yeah, so Article 13, right? Indigenous peoples have the right to revitalize, use, develop, and transmit to future generations their histories, languages, oral traditions, philosophies, writing systems, and literatures, and to designate and retain their own names for communities, places, and persons. You're right. This is a very, and that's just part one
Yeah.
of Article 13. There's a
but
second part.
that was like the one that kind of was like, I was like, when I was reading through it, I was like, damn, like that shit right there is literally everything, and it's not done, unfortunately, or it's like not the right thing,
Yeah, exactly, and you're right because they're very specific with their words here. They have the right to revitalize. There's a reason they started that off. You have a right to revitalize, right? Because they understand how much culture has been lost. You know what I'm saying? How much heritage has been lost. You know what I'm saying?
That's why semantics are important. People like and not just that, but the interpretation of the word. Or
Oh yeah, exactly. Because especially if you're doing anything at a high level, especially talking about international business or international committees and things of that nature, you want to be like super precise about the words you use because it's going to be interpreted by so many different cultures and people who speak different languages. You know what I'm saying? When they look up the word in English, if you speak Spanish and you look up a word in English, you're going to try to think that okay, that's the exact definition. But they may have a different colloquial definition for it in America that you may not understand. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's gonna come down to that could be how much land you get. That could be how much rights you have, right? Or
Exactly, exactly. So they want to be very specific. So, but yeah, like he said, the right to revitalize and develop and transmit to future generations their histories, languages, and oral traditions. That's exactly what I was talking about. Because in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was downright outlawed for in some states for black people to identify as American Indian. You know what I'm saying? Talking about Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, and parts of those
outlawed.
places.
Oh, sorry.
In terms of they changed everything to colored folk. You know what I'm saying? That's where the term colored comes from, and it comes from colorable law. So colorable law is man-made law that is made to look like the common law or the universal law or God's law, right? So everything that has to do with codes and statutes with the United States Corporation, that's colorable law. It's a man-made law. You're a part of that law voluntarily. You're not born into it. Everybody's born into the common law. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody has to adhere to certain principles
On the land, right?
on Earth. You feel me? Like stealing is a crime everywhere.
Even
You know what
on
I'm saying? There's a
on the
reason
oceans,
for
it's
it.
the same.
Yeah. On the oceans, it is the common law. Yeah. On the oceans, you're under the
Maritime?
jurisdiction, maritime law, but that means you're under the jurisdiction of the captain of that vessel.
Okay.
So if the captain of that vessel chooses to use common law, then yeah, but he can choose a man-made type of law
Gotcha.
that you voluntarily agreed to be a part of once you stepped onto his vessel.
Gotcha. Okay. That
You know
makes
what I'm
sense.
saying? But yeah, but you're right. This one is a very important one because people have to understand that like so much has been lost that can still be regained. You know what I'm saying? And that's the phase that we're in as a people right now, regaining what was lost. You know what I'm saying?
So definitely a word like dope or cool isn't it doesn't do it justice.
Exactly. You could say maybe generation saving. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
It may redeem somebody's bloodline understanding this stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because there may be some trials and tribulations on the horizon. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
Where not everybody's bloodline may survive what's to come. You know what I'm saying? You may have to be in a certain position, have a certain awareness, you know what I'm saying, to ensure that your progeny makes it through what's going to come these next couple of decades, you know what I'm saying? Because we're in a very transitional place as a human race,
Yeah.
where some of us believe that there's too many people on Earth. You know what I'm saying? And they're trying to get some of us out of here. You feel me?
Yeah.
So if that's their concerted effort, that's a concerted plan, they're going to be successful with some people. Now you just got to decide, like, is my bloodline going to be a part of that? You know what I'm saying? So very, very interesting. And I want to go over the second part of Article 13. So it states, states shall take effective measures to ensure that this right is protected and also to ensure that that indigenous peoples can understand and be understood in political, legal, and administrative proceedings where necessary through the provision of interpretation or by other appropriate means. So this is very interesting too. I want to point out something they said. Like I said, political, legal, and administrative proceedings. So most of the most of the courtrooms or the court cases, like traffic tickets, things of that nature, you're not really in a legal battle or a lawful battle. You're in an administrative proceeding. You know what I'm saying? Like they're there to get their money. They're there to administer over the people that voluntarily got the
Proceeds.
license. You know what I'm saying, from the state. And then if you break that contract or you drive too fast, whatever code or statute that you broke, they're there to collect that money. You know what I'm saying? So
Give me my money.
exactly. Unless you're really dealing with like a common law crime, like you killed somebody, you hurt somebody, you stole from somebody.
Damaged property.
Yeah, exactly. You're really dealing with an administrative process. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily a legal battle. And that's why they're like I said, they're very specific with their words. They don't just put administrative proceedings in there lightly, because most people hear that. What's an administrative proceeding? What's that? Well, every time you go to traffic court, you know what I'm saying, which is a type of court that's not in the Constitution. You know what I'm saying? You're really going to an administrative proceeding, and that court is really that judge, or rather, is really acting as an administrator. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not acting as a real judge. You know
And
what I'm
that's
saying?
what they know that though when you talk to them certain ways.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially with traffic tickets. There's multiple ways to get out of traffic tickets. It's all about, I mean, did you voluntarily sign up, and did you sever that contract? You know what I'm saying? That's really what that comes down to. If you agree to live by their traffic rules and regulations, then you broke it, then you have to keep up your side of the bargain and pay whatever penalty they have. But if you never agreed to be in their jurisdiction, you never agreed to their statutes, and they're trying to get you on a victimless crime like driving, or or making a wide left turn where you didn't hit nobody or hurt nobody,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a victimless crime, then you can get out of that because you didn't voluntarily agree to be in their jurisdiction where you can do things that have no victim but still get taxed for it. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, we need to do those. Have you seen those videos on YouTube? The cop making sure that the cops are doing or
On point. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to go out
the
there, go out
audits.
my way, agitate nobody.
Cop
but
audits or something
yeah,
like that.
oh, cop audit. Hey, look at cop audits. That is an interesting. That's an
Yeah.
interesting ass YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, you can get stuck in that just watching them like.
Yeah, no, they got
breaking
people on
down
there that
the
know
law.
that. Yeah, that know
Yeah.
their stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, all this is very important to understand when you dealing with these cops. Because if you have your indigenous status and you pull out an Aboriginal ID, a tribal ID, you know what I'm saying? And you don't pull out a state ID dealing with these cops, they're going to deal with you totally different, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to let them know, I'm not in your jurisdiction. And what is even your reasonable, articulable suspicion for even pulling me over or even trying to think you can talk to me? You know what I'm saying? My plates is private, my ID is private, you know what I'm saying? I got nothing to do with y'all. You're just a man in a suit, you know, in a uniform right now. You don't have no authority over me. You know what I'm saying? And understanding your indigenous rights really gives you the confidence to speak to these people. You know what I'm saying? Because you understand what this whole system is about. These cops aren't there to help you. They're there to get money for the state. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're there. What's it they're there for? Money and control.
They have to hit that quota.
Got to hit that quota, right? You know what I'm saying? I wonder who's setting that quota.
Yeah.
You feel me? So to look up a couple more of these articles, right? So Article 14. Indigenous peoples have the right to establish and control their educational systems and institutions, providing education in their own languages in a manner appropriate to their cultural methods of teaching and learning. And of course, this piggybacks off what I was saying earlier. The public school system is not for an indigenous person. I mean, I wouldn't even recommend it for Caucasian kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get your own school. You know what I'm saying? Get your private schools popping. You feel me? But it's not. The public school system is not there for somebody who wants their child to be a fully functioning adult.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it really comes down to. You feel me? And the second point of Article 14, indigenous individuals, particularly children, have the right to all levels and formal education of the state without discrimination. You know what I'm saying? So that's if you choose to put your kids at that public school, you have the right to do that. You know what I'm saying? Now, moving forward, especially after they come in with this jab, I don't know how smart that is.
Yeah.
but you have the right to do
Hunting
that.
ground, basically.
Yeah, and really that has to do with higher level institutions like college and, you know what I'm saying, universities and stuff. You feel me? Yeah. Which, you know what I'm saying, like the universities are a den for liberalism, but you can still go into a university and get what you want to get out of it. If you're not playing around, you have a focus, you know what I'm saying, drive and a plan. You don't want to go to these universities and just willy-nilly on float and because you're paying a lot of money to float.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've been there.
Shorties, yeah.
Exactly. So
Or dudes for some chicks.
yeah. And then the third point, states shall, in conjunction with indigenous peoples, take effective measures in order for indigenous individuals, particularly children, including those living outside their communities, to have access, when possible, to an education in their own culture and provided in their own language, right? So Article 15, right? Indigenous peoples have the right to dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information. Now, this one's interesting, right? So it must be appropriately reflected. Now, a lot of this stuff has come in public recently, or I should say the last couple of decades, right? For statements just like this one, you know what I'm saying? Whether it be this Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples or the Declaration on Human Rights, you know what I'm saying? These are declarations that all the major countries have agreed to. So it's forcing certain countries who were moving in a way that's not in accordance with those declarations, is forcing them to relook at their policy, to put everything on public information. The only thing is that they know that the people have been colonized for generations, and that a lot of the ignorance has got to the point in some of these neighborhoods and some of these families where people won't even look back because they don't know how to. They're very apathetic to learning, to reading, and all this contributes to what we see going on in the hood, where it be the violence, the broken families, the poverty. You know what I'm saying? All of this stems from not understanding the rights that they have and where all wealth comes from, which is land. If you have no land as a people, as a family, as an individual, you have no real wealth. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, something go down, these dollars mean nothing. This Bitcoin, if the lights go off, Bitcoin means nothing. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? What will mean something is having land that you can protect, that you can grow food on, that you can raise a family on. You know what I'm saying? Where you can actually live.
Yeah.
Because something goes down, like you can't grow food on this asphalt, on these streets, on this concrete. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? You're not gonna have no real wealth. And you're gonna be fighting in the street, scrambling. You know what I'm saying? In a desperate situation. When you understand that most people do the worst things in their life when they're in the most
Desperate,
desperate situation. So these are all things we gotta keep in mind. You know what I'm saying? And it also says states shall take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with the indigenous peoples concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among indigenous people and all other segments of society. Right. So that's important, right? Because if anybody's ever like trying to make fun of you or trying to like dismiss your indigenous heritage, that could be very damaging to a child. You know what I'm saying? And so we want to make sure that people understand that they have the right to identify with whatever their family's oral tradition or has told them who they are. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, whatever pop culture or whatever corporate culture wants you to identify as, or you know what I'm saying? So Article 16. Indigenous peoples have the right to establish their own media in their own languages and to have access to all forms of non-indigenous media without discrimination. And that's what Elevating the Melanated is here for. You know what I'm saying? Just a couple of indigenous brothers, Aboriginal brothers trying to get this truth to the people, you know what I'm saying? That's what it's about, you know what I'm saying? Support independent media, you know what I'm saying? Go to shop.elevatingthemelanated.com, get some of the shirts, you know what I mean? Some of the hoodies, you feel me? We out here, you know what I mean?
And even the caps.
Yeah, we got the caps, we got the beanies, we got the bucket hats. You know what I mean?
I already know that beanie's gonna look fly.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So you know what I'm saying. The bucket hat's looking nice too. So
Yeah.
but that's what Article 16. You know what I'm saying. That's very important because if there aren't people like us, you know what I'm saying, who are speaking for us, you may never get the correct perspective on the news. You know what I'm saying? Because CNN or MSNBC or whatever, they may tell you, they may report an event, but it may not be from the perspective that you share.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what these independent media outlets are about, especially people who are actually identifying it indigenous and Aboriginal, because they're trying to make it fashionable not to identify as such. You feel me? It's very important that we get these information out, we get these rights to the people out. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was growing up, I didn't hear, you know what I'm saying, nobody really talking like this. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really trying to push, you know what I'm saying, law, civics, you know what I'm saying, commerce, understanding these concepts. Nobody's really talking about that, you know what I'm saying, when I was growing up in the hood. You feel me? Like, people was just trying to get quick money or keep their heads down with their corporate job, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of that really appealed to me. But the further we get into understanding, the higher we can go, because everything's a meritocracy. You feel me? The more you understand the system you in, no matter the system, the more you can do in that system. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this comes down to knowledge, access to knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
And patience and planning.
Patience, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big thing. That's something you gotta learn. You know what I'm saying? That's something you gotta mature to have. You feel me? Because you can have a plan, but the patience to execute that plan, discipline to execute that plan. That's what it's really all about.
And then the precision comes once you start to be patient. That's when the precision comes with the plan.
Yes, sir.
That's
You know
the
what I'm
goal.
saying? So Article 16, you know what I'm saying? We're right on point with that. We trying, you feel me? So Section 2 of Article 16, excuse me. States shall take effect measures to ensure that state-owned media duly reflect indigenous cultural diversity. States, without prejudice to ensure full freedom of expression, should encourage privately owned media to adequately reflect indigenous cultural diversity, right? Now, do we see that? Well, I mean, I wouldn't say so, but there's not enough people in America identifying as the correct status. You know what I'm saying? So if you look in the census, right, they'll tell you there's like about 4 or 5 million, Native American people, right? But then there's 50 million black people, you know what I'm saying? And then there's another 60 million, you know what I'm saying, 70 million Latino people, you know what I'm saying? So it's like so he's like, there's only 5 million Native Americans, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we got 130 million of these other people that we don't know where
Look just
they're
alike.
that look just like the Paytons from the 17 and 1600s of the people that were here before we got here,
Yeah.
but they came from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like it's very important to understand that like if more people were identifying correctly with their indigenous heritage, then it would be represented more in pop culture or in the public. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But most people are identifying as these labels or these brands that are corporately controlled. Like black is like that's like a brand. It's like, you know what I'm saying? That's like
I'm black and I'm proud.
you know what I'm saying? That's like Coca-Cola. You
Yeah.
feel me? Like the United States corporation owns
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that term. You know what I'm saying? That phrase. They can whenever they create their census, that's how they get people to get outside the human family so they can get outside of having human rights. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important that we understand this. So Article 17, right? Indigenous individuals and peoples have the right to enjoy fully all rights established under applicable international and domestic labor law, right? So that's basically you can't force people to work without their consent, right? So that's addressing slavery. Number two, states shall, in consultation and cooperation with indigenous peoples, take specific measures to protect indigenous children from economic exploitation and from performing any work that is likely to be hazardous or to interfere with the child's education or to be harmful to the child's health or physical, mental, spiritual, moral, or social development, taking into account their special vulnerability and the importance of education for their empowerment. So that's condemning child slavery, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then section 2, indigenous individuals have the right not to be subjected to any discriminatory conditions of labor, employment, or salary, right? So that's just like, getting rid of discrimination in the workplace, right? Because, employee and slave are, they're very
Very
close,
close.
you know what I'm saying? And that's why that's addressed in the same article. So Article 18, indigenous peoples have the right to participate in decision making in matters which would affect their rights through representatives chosen by themselves in accordance with their own procedures, as well as to maintain and develop their own indigenous decision making institutions. That's telling you that you have right to your own government, right?
Yeah.
You have your right to, handle your own affairs, your family's affairs, your extended family's affairs, and then you can get tribal affairs, right? Article 19. States shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the indigenous peoples concerned through their representative institutions in order to obtain their free, prior, and informed consent before adopting and implementing legislative or administrative measures that may affect them. So this is a this is a good one to understand. So when they made Jim Crow laws, for example, right? Did they ask the indigenous population that they changed to colored? They asked them if, would you like Jim Crow laws? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, they didn't ask them none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They just enforced the law because that's what colonialism is. Well, they enforced their codes and statutes. I don't want to say enforce the law because that's not true law. You know what I'm saying? That's man-made law. But they've created a system and then got us to voluntarily identify with that system. Then they put rules and implementations in that system without asking the indigenous people anything about the system. You know what I'm saying? So without asking them, right? So that's basically telling them like they can't make legislative that affects indigenous people without informing them and getting their consent. You feel me? Because that can lead to very discriminatory systems like Jim Crow laws or things of that nature, where
Yeah.
they try to segregate the people on land that isn't even theirs to choose where to segregate people on. You know what I'm saying? So very important. Article 20. Indigenous peoples have the right to maintain and develop their political, economic, and social systems or institutions to be secure in the enjoyment of their own means of subsistence and development, and to engage freely in all traditional and economic activities, right? So, and then Article 2, indigenous peoples deprived, of their means of subsistence and development are entitled to just and fair redress. Very important. So, let's say your great grandma, your great grandfather was ran off of their land. You know what I'm saying? There was Indian removal acts, the Trail of Tears, things of this nature. They were caught into slavery, and their land was taken over by people who are moving into it. If you can prove these things, or if you have this oral tradition, and you can go back to the papers, because there's always paperwork. A deed is going to pop up somewhere. Somebody's going to make the first deed that's in the European banking system for that land. So there's going to be a paper trail. If you get to that paper trail, then you can find what you can get what just and fair redress, which is what getting your land back with compensation. You know what I'm saying? Or let's say they got like a court building or a government building on the land, right? Now they got to pay your family. You know what I'm saying? Because your family's a landlords now. You know what I'm saying? So you got to pay you rent for having that stuff on the land. You know what I'm saying? So these are the some of the redress and the power that you have when you're able to prove you have ancestral land that was taken from you illegitimately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And
very
just,
important.
well, yeah, like you said, proven in the fact that it is actually possible. It's not outside of the realm. It does take work for sure, but just like always, it does take work.
Exactly. And
But
go ahead.
I'm saying there is a way out, or the way to take back your name and take back your family's pride.
Oh, 100%. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, all these different black organizations, you know what I'm saying, in quotation marks, that are currently being worked on, whether it be the NAACP or, you know what I'm saying, Black Lives Matter, which we all know are fronts for other agendas and other organizations and people. But the ineffectiveness of these organizations is because they are playing with not the correct ancestry and not the correct story. You know what I'm saying? Because really,
Where they're really just playing with emotions.
yeah, they're trying to keep you emotional. 100%. Really, if so-called black people or Aboriginal people were to come together and create committees where they would take the strongest oral traditions, the strongest cases that we have, and we get people together that understand the law to help people with those cases to start regaining back their land, that would have a much bigger impact than anything else that I can think of. And it's something I can see myself doing later on in life. The further I get into, you know what I'm saying, understanding the legal system and commerce and things of that nature, because that's really what it all comes down to. You feel me? There's millions and millions of acres, you know what I'm saying, just sitting in the South and East Coast, the Midwest, that used to belong to somebody's great something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And right now it's been administrated over by a bank that doesn't really own the land and isn't and is a foreign entity.
And they just buried it under paperwork, But the thing about it is, you can just go back for what's called the allodial title. Is that what it's called?
Exactly. You want to try and get the allodial title, put it into an indigenous trust, you know what I'm saying? And that's what you want to do once you get the land back, you know what I'm saying? So all this is very important because you understand that, like, what was lost can be regained. You know what I'm saying? You just have to do the due diligence to prove that it was taken from you or taken from your family unjustly.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something that, like, if anybody is hearing, you know what I'm saying, listening, you want to make a big impact, I feel like, and you understand the law, you know what I'm saying, or you're somebody that's working to understand the law, I feel like that's something huge, you know what I'm saying, especially if you're a person who heard about something like this. Oh, we got 50 acres here, we got 75 acres here, you know what I'm saying, but, like, it's just sitting there, and a lot of land's just sitting there where it's there for you, you know what I'm saying, you just may have to claim it, you know what I'm saying, where the last person that was related to the person who owned the land passed away and they couldn't find the immediate family member, that stuff may just be sitting in limbo waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? A lot of kids in these Midwest cities, these Northeast cities, these cities in the West, they may have 100 acres that's supposed to be inherited to them in the South, in Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Florida, and they may not even know it. And they sitting in squalor, they sitting in poverty when they got resources that is really theirs, but because their family has been broken down, their oral tradition and their history has been broken down, they've been left in squalor and poverty that was never meant for them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a very important article. You feel me? So it's something very important for us to understand moving forward. You know what I'm saying, as a people.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, to me at least, I always learn with obviously my questions for KT. This is definitely something, or this article that kind of opened my eyes to really being precise with my plans. Because obviously there's ways to get out of it, but it's like this puts kind of An extra fire behind it, but also, like I said, it gives me a way to move within the lines that they're working at. You know, if I'm not great with my words, then get somebody who is good in what's called colloquial law or international law.
Get somebody who's good with international and common law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like getting that and someone on your team that can at least understand that. Then there's no way that you can't, kind of fight back for your ancestors and get your land and things of that nature.
Exactly. You know
Until
what I'm
you're
saying?
until I'm at the point to I'm like, okay, I know the law, I know this and that.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I do want to stress we got the link to this in the bio, in the description. I mean, in the bio, in the description. You know what I'm saying? So we want you to click on that, go through this fully. You feel me? Because I feel like that was a really good place to go ahead and leave off for part one of this. We may do a part two and just dive into the rest of the articles.
Yeah.
But more importantly, we want people to do their own research. You know what I'm saying? We want people to, you know what I'm saying, read this for themselves, to internalize this information for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And just start talking to your family about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just start asking the elders in your family, like, you know what I'm saying, where are we from? And, like, if you don't know, like, if you have a strong oral tradition, you know exactly where you're from, that's good, that's great. You know what I'm saying? Move on that truth. But if you out here and you feel like you're a little lost, you know what I'm saying, about your ancestry, about your heritage, first start with the people in your family, you know what I'm saying? And then you're able to move on from there and use different genealogical resources like the census, you know what I'm saying, birth records, death records, marriage licenses, things of that nature that can help you, you know what I'm saying, track back, you know what I'm saying, as far back as possible. You feel me? So it's very important. You got any last words, DJ?
Just start moving. Not start moving in truth. We'll definitely start moving in the truth. But this kind of article made me think about being precise with. So that's really what I took away from today. Because if you can be precise, then you can really start to focus on your ancestry, finding the different documents that you need to find, and sifting through the bullshit. Because there's a lot of bullshit that's out there, all the narratives that are out there. So if you can really start to plan and then be precise with that plan, you can, you know what I'm saying, who knows, save your whole generation and then some. So
100%. And just to piggyback off what DJ said, in my final words, I just want to encourage people, saying to take their bloodline seriously. You know what I'm saying? If you choose, if you care, because I've heard people tell me they don't care. You know what I'm saying? So, but if you do care, take it seriously and don't ever feel powerless. Is what I want to get to too. This is basically telling you have power over your life, but you can't give it up. You know what I'm saying? So I just want you to understand that, like, you have rights, you have, you know what I'm saying, things that cannot be taken away from you unless you voluntarily acquiesce. You give those things up. Nobody can take away your free will. Nobody can take away your self-determination. Nobody can take away your identity unless you allow them to take away your identity. You know what I'm saying? So do your due diligence. Check out the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. It is not the only document that matters, but it's a very important one, just to look at the parameters, what rights you have, and maybe what rights you're not exercising that you could be exercising to lead yourself to a much more prosperous lifestyle in the life that you want to live. You feel me? So I just want to thank you again for joining us here at Elevated and Melanated, and peace.
Peace.